They asked that it be out. Eric, get ready.
Margot Kelly will lead us in the invocation.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we would like to thank Thee for all the many blessings we've been able to enjoy this beautiful morning. And we'd like to thank Thee for all our friends and family which have been able to join us today to share our graduation celebration. Please bless us that we may have the ability and the initiative to achieve the goals we have set for ourselves. Again, we thank Thee for all our many blessings. Amen.
Please be seated. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here this morning, and in spite of the wind, we're going to have a good time here for the next hour or so. We all know that today is a day for the graduates themselves, and so we want to focus all of our attention on that. Any of you who'd like to take pictures, be sure and come down and do it. We just ask that you not get in the way of the flow so that we can keep the proceedings going. I'm going to get right on with the introduction of our commencement speaker. Later on in the program, I'll tell you more about his background. In many ways, I don't think that he needs very much of an introduction when he's reached the position that he has in the state of Arizona. It's an honor and a privilege to have with us this morning and for me to be able to introduce to you as your commencement speaker, the Honorable John McCain, U.S. Senator from Arizona. John?
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you all for your warm welcome. I had prepared an hour and a half remarks on the Persian Gulf, and I'll send you the copy of those rather than read those. I also want to again thank you for inviting me to be with you. I congratulate you on a successful completion of a long and arduous and challenging curriculum in one of the most outstanding institutions in this nation. I think you are a bit unique also in that the skills, knowledge, and ability that you've acquired here will literally be, from time to time in your future, directly related to saving your life and that of the lives of others as you assume the enormous responsibilities that go with aviation today. I can't help but, when thinking about learning to fly, think about an incident that happened to me some years ago when I was about to retire from the Navy. As you know, I was a Navy pilot, not a very good one. It doesn't take a great deal of talent to get shot down, as I'm sure you're aware. And I was over at the bar in San Diego at the Officers Club having a Coca-Cola, as most fighter pilots do. Standing next to me was a very ancient, senile-looking guy. He looked a lot like Chancellor Daley. And I noticed that he was an ensign, which is, as you know, the lowest rank you can have and still be commissioned in the Navy. And I engaged him in conversation. I said, "How long have you been in the Navy?" He said, 43 years. And I said, "You were never promoted?" He said, "No." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I was based at the 1st Squadron at Guadalcanal early in World War II. It was Henderson Field. And every night, one Japanese airplane used to fly over our field. We called him Washing Machine Charlie. He would fly over, and it was a harassment raid. He was the only one. But the sirens would go off. We'd have to get out of our tent, get in our airplane, start the engine, sit there. And finally, after a while, after Washing Machine Charlie left, the all-clear siren would go off. We'd shut down the engine, get out of our airplanes, go back into our tents. It was terrible. I wasn't getting any rest. The food was lousy anyway. So finally, I solved the problem. I went out in the jungle and I caught this monkey. And I trained this monkey that when the siren went off, he'd come out of the jungle, get into my airplane, start the engine, sit there. And when the all-clear siren would go off, he'd shut down the engine and get out of the airplane and go back in the jungle. It was wonderful. I was sleeping like a baby every night. But sure enough, one night, it was not a Washing Machine Charlie. It was a real Japanese air raid. And I came out of my tent just in time to see that monkey taken off in my airplane. I said, "Well, I can easily see why you were not promoted." He said, "That's not what makes me mad. The monkey retired as an admiral last week." Some of us had the privilege of serving with that admiral. So I would also like to mention that this is the last commencement of General Tallman. He has done outstanding service both for his country and here at Embry-Riddle, and we will all miss him a great deal. I want to talk a little bit about your future, which is related to aviation as a future, and then say a few words. Aviation is the transportation mode of the future, as you know. It's not only the key to this nation's aviation future, but to Arizonans. Secretary Skinner, the Secretary of Transportation, said here in Arizona about a year ago, domestic economic growth will be dependent on aviation in the 1990s and the 21st century, just as it was on the railroads in the 1800s and the waterways in the 1700s. I don't have to give you the examples of what the railroads did for the economy of this nation, and aviation is indeed the future of the world. And what you will see in the next few years is a dynamic explosion in a global fashion of aviation. The Pacific Rim is an area that we will see the largest area of growth. As you may know, America West recently got a foot in the door with a recently inaugurated service to Nagoya, Japan, and traffic from North America is estimated to increase at an annual average of 4.3% in the next decade. Cargo growth is expected to rise even more dramatically at a rate of 10% over the next 10 years, and by 1995, 1/3 of world's passenger traffic and 42% of cargo traffic will be accounted for by the Pacific Rim. In Europe, we'll see the same kind of dynamic growth. Passenger traffic to Europe is now at 16.1 million people. It's expected to grow to 23.6 million by the year 2000. What's the problems that lie ahead of us? First of all, you are graduating at a time when the industry is going through a transitional period and no one really knows when it'll emerge. Some of us are very concerned about the promises of airline deregulation, which promised to us that there would be a large number of airlines that we each would fit in a different niche and different category. The fact is, as you know, we are now seeing a dramatic shrinkage in the number of domestic airlines. There is now one, count them, one remaining post-deregulation era airline in America, and that happens to be America West, Midway Airlines having declared bankruptcy, as you know, some time ago. The names of commercial aviation that meant so much to us for so many years, such as Pan Am, TWA, and others, are rapidly either going out of business or are on a life support system. And that is not good news, in my view, for the consumer, because the more choice there is, the more competition there is, and the more that the consumer will save. I'm very concerned, as you should be, about the concentration in one hand because of one airline or two or three. Because if the concentration of all the air traffic in America is in two or three airlines who own the commuters, then of course that will not help you and other pilots and aircrew members as far as aviation pay and salaries and benefits are concerned. These issues will be greatly debated. I urge you to become interested in them because they will affect your future and your livelihood as we go into the next century. I have no doubt that the future of Arizona rests to a large degree on a metro regional airport. If you look at Birmingham and Atlanta in the 1950s, they were two cities that were exactly the same. Atlanta built an airport and grew dramatically. Birmingham obviously fell far behind. Dallas-Fort Worth. The people of Denver just made a decision to commit some $2 billion to the construction of a major new airport. And I also would add one other point. With the demand for pilots going as high starting a year and a half from now to 7,000 pilots per year being hired by the airlines, the military cannot provide anywhere near that quota. And we're going to have to invest airlines money and Department of Defense money into institutions like Embry-Riddle so that we will be able to provide this growing requirement for aviation technicians and, most importantly, pilots. Let me finally say that if just a few years ago, when you all entered this rigorous course of training, that we would have said that the world looks like it is today, we would have thought that you were smoking something rather strong. The fact is the world has changed. And in the last few months, we have seen one of the great defining events in military history, and that's the great victory we achieved in the Persian Gulf. But perhaps more importantly than that, what we've seen is the freedom that has been bestowed on people who lived under the heel and yoke of oppression for many, many years. In Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, throughout the world, people have found freedom. And the reason why that has happened is because of the United States sending the message of our steadfast adherence to human rights, to principles, and freedom. There was not an accident that when the students in China erected a statue in Tiananmen Square, it was a statue of liberty. It was not an accident that in Czechoslovakia, when 1 million people gathered who were ready to throw off the yoke of communism, a 19-year-old student stood up before those 1 million Czechoslovakian people and said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Amongst these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." We are a great nation. You are the future of this great nation. And I know that when I see the kind of quality men and women in front of me today, we can be proud of America and remember the words of Pope Pius X, who said after World War II, when the threat of communism engulfing Western Europe, said, "The American people have a genius for great and unselfish actions. Unto the hands of America, God has placed the fortunes of an afflicted mankind." Congratulations, Godspeed, and God bless. Thank you very much.
Each graduating class chooses from among their membership a speaker to speak for them. And it's my privilege to introduce the senior class speaker, Anthony J. Severini.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everybody here. There you go. Wow. Woo! 1991 class. Yeah. All right. Well, everybody knows what this is about because I saw you guys out at the Sheridan last night and out at Sid Lowe's party, right? You know what that's all about. I'm honored to be up here speaking to everyone today. To all the families, welcome here. To all the friends, to all the alumni, and my classmates. I'm a little nervous and a little hungover, but I'm honored. Like any good college student, I waited until about 5 minutes ago to finish this speech. Everyone can attest to that because someone just came over to my house and saw me writing it. I approached you guys a couple weeks ago and asked you guys what you wanted me to talk about as your class speaker. You guys had a lot of good ideas. Excuse me. But the main thing you said is keep it short, not too long. You said don't be too funny or don't be too serious. And finally, you told me talk about the last 4 years and all the good times we had. So today, I'm going to talk about all the friendships we made, all the people who've come in and out of our lives, the goals we've set and accomplished, the hardships we've endured, the accomplishments we achieved. And I'd like to parallel this, our life here at Embry-Riddle in the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, as some of you guys may look at it, with the life that we're going to lead very soon. The uncertainty that we looked at 4 years ago when we first walked in here. All right. Is the same uncertainty that we're looking at again. 4 years ago, we decided on Prescott, Arizona, come to college to. I hear you. I'm from New Jersey, and when I thought of coming out here, I said, wow, Arizona, it's going to be 90 degrees all the time, an endless supply of tan blondes. Why was I mistaken? The only thing out here in the 90s is the people's age in town. The ratio is 12-1. You guys can attest to that. That's bad for both males and females. And it snows up here. I couldn't believe it snows up here. I figured I'd be tan all the time, and that wasn't the case. But at least we have good weather today. Let's thank the Lord and Mr. Holly for that one. So when I arrived with my parents 4 years ago, like many of you did, I took that long drive up from Phoenix to Prescott, up I-17. I looked on the side of the road, and I showed my parents the cactus. And I swear, I only thought they were only in cartoons. I never even knew the cactus looked like that. I mean, call me dumb, but. Then we drove into that road over there, that main road. It's changed a little bit. And an event happened that I'll never forget. There goes my hat. My mother looked at me and said, you don't want to go here. I should have listened to you, Ma, let me tell you, because you were right. Wow. And I gulped and I said, yes, I do. But I was scared, like many of you were. Then I went to my peer group and they said, only 3 out of every 10 students that start here graduates. And you guys can attest to this if you look around, because most of the people we started with aren't even here right now. So you guys need to be congratulated on that fact that you stuck with it and you're here today graduating. That's great. Then my parents left, and like many of you guys, scared, I was scared. My parents left, I was 18-year-old on my own for the first time. Some are older, but still, one time you were on your own for the first time. And there was so much uncertainty, and I was so scared, I cried. I have to tell you guys, share it with you. And I know a lot of you guys did too, but you won't admit it. But then we started meeting people, and we started going to classes, and we saw people on the playing fields or in the classrooms or in the quad. We made a lot of friendships that'll last forever. And that was great. We set our goals towards graduation. And we saw people come and go in and out of our lives. but we're still here. And we saw a lot of changes on campus. All the students, you guys bought that, and that's great. We saw our bookstore change from there to there. We saw some paved parking lots, some lighted parking lots. We saw some roads change. And a lot of events, a lot of parties, maybe a lot of Phoenix trips, a lot of Lake Havasu trips, a lot of Mexico trips, so a lot of Vegas trips, so we had a good time. And then there's Bo. Bo's Jeep. Bo lent his Jeep out, and it's no longer with us. So they're all memories now, but they'll last on in our lives forever. They'll always be there when you look through the yearbook or you look at your friends and think back. So they're etched in our minds forever, and that's great. Through that time, we also had to take classes and take some things serious. I agree. We had some great instructors out there. Maybe we had a humanities class with a Jamie Beattie, or a tech report class, which everybody hated. Or a speech class. Thank God for speech, right? I attest to that one. Or maybe we had a psychology class with Frank Bennett. Or a physics class, ooh, with Dave Veiger. Or a materials or drafting class with Dr. Newcomb. Or maybe well, not me, but you engineers out there. And some of you guys had a class maybe with Dr. Haraf or Dr. Cheek. Or maybe one of you guys had some of the dynamic duo. Oh, I see him sitting over there now. Mike Polay and Dick Samuels. And everybody knows about Mike's quizzes. They're so unfair. He's such an unfair guy. Or maybe you had a class with master meteorologist John Holly. Hey, thanks for the good weather, Mr. Holly. Or maybe you had a class with an instructor who takes about 2 months to grade a test. Bill, you got those tests done yet? So throughout that time, there was a lot of times when I know a lot of you felt bogged down. You had tests, you had papers to write. Like myself, I had flight. There was a lot of times I just wanted to fold it up and quit and say, hey, it's too hard. I can't do it. I know a lot of you guys felt the same way. That's really what I'm basing my speech on today. Every time things like that would happen in my life, I'd turn around and read a poem. I want to read the poem to you today because I don't think it just relates to school here. I think it relates to life itself. When you guys walk out of here, maybe 2 months from now, maybe you'll be flipping burgers. You spend $70,000 on education. The aviation industry right now looks tango uniform, you know? It doesn't look too good. But we got to keep striving on. So let me read this poem. I want to share it with you guys. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, you guys know about that. And you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a fellow turn about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And when he learns too late, the night came down, how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you mustn't quit. I wish I wrote that, but I didn't. But I follow my life by it, and I hope you guys do too out there, because it's going to get rough. And we're facing the same uncertainty now that we faced 4 years ago. Maybe I should just cry again, because I don't know what's going to happen out there. If anyone out there has a jet flying job for me, talk to me after. I need it. Now we entered our last semester of school in January. We're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. But before that, we had to go through a war in the Mideast. It took some of our families, some of our friends. It took some of our classmates. Thank God that war is over now. Thank God we kicked butt. Thank God Jason and Bill are back. Thank you for supporting our country. I don't know if they're out there, but let's hear it. we're at graduation and we met our goal. We're here and we haven't quit. We strived forward. Let's do the same thing in life. If things get tough, things get hard, let's keep going forward. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the instructors, all the great instructors out there, for giving us the knowledge, for giving us the tools we're going to need out there. A lot of you guys come up to me and say, as your class speaker, I want you to say one thing. I don't want to cause controversy up here, but Lamar, all the students are behind you. And that's what they wanted me to say. You're a really great instructor, and we know you're all for the students, and that's all that really counts here. Most of the instructors here are all for the students, and that's great. And everybody expressed concern about that. So I thanked all the instructors. Now I'd like to personally thank Mary Johnson and Larry Stefan for all the love and support they've showed us throughout the years. They're a great bunch of people. One of the biggest benefits of me standing up here today is I get to personally thank the two most important people in my life. Without them, I wouldn't be here today. They've given me moral support. They've given me monetary support. They picked me up when I was down. I know they sacrificed a lot to send me here. And I just want to say, Mom and Dad, I love you. Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done it without you. That thank you goes out not only to my mom and dad, but to all your support groups out there, from every student to every parent or every wife or husband or girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever you may choose. Because without them, we wouldn't be here today. Think how many times they picked us up. Also, to all the friends out there, all my friends, all you guys, you're great. You made the 4 years awesome. Some of that. I have to say good luck to the class of 1991. You guys are great. You made my 4 years here as bearable as it could have been. Last but not least, I'm going to set a precedent here. I'd like to toast the class of 1991. This bud's for you, fellas and females. Thank you very much. I love you all and good luck.
It is now my privilege to call forward 4 Air Force ROTC cadets who will be commissioned as second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. They are Mike Arnold, Rick Barrett, John Hicks, and Mike Pasafumi. I also want to recognize 5 additional Air Force personnel who will be commissioned over the next few weeks and through the summer. And they are Boris Anastasov, Ken Meyer, Scott Zipwald, Doug Anderson, and Mary Lou Yesville. Now for the oath of enlistment. You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name. Having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God.
It's now an honor to be able to commission 5 candidates for graduation into the United States Army. Would Derek Cooper, Mark Easton, Paul Gilbride, David Kroon, and Ralph Taylor please come forward? We'd also like to recognize Andrew Himmerline, Maria Savage, and Joshua Day, who will be graduating today as well. Raise your right hand. I state your full name.
I, Derek Colin Cooper. I, Mark William Easton.
I, Paul Lewis Gilbride.
Do solemnly swear,
Do solemnly swear,
having been appointed an officer
having been appointed an officer
in the Army of the United States
in an Army of the United States
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which
of the office upon which
I am about to enter.
I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Bonnettell, Staff Sergeant Presley, United States Marine Corps, will now commission Mr. Kit Johnson and Mr. Mike Prescott as Lieutenants of Marines. Kit Johnson, Mark Muskoff, if you are ready to assume the responsibilities as Lieutenants of Marines, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Theodore S. Johnson,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office upon which I am about to enter.
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
and gentlemen, the Mameluke sword that the lieutenants are now receiving is a replica of that sword used by the Barbary pilots when they surrendered to Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon in another century and another war.
Present. Sword.
Newly commissioned second lieutenant. Order. Sword.
Ready. Face. Forward. March.
Will the candidates for the degree of Associate in Science and Aeronautical Science please come forward?
James Ralph Knapp. Casey Harold McKenzie.
Will the candidates for Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Science please come forward?
Also receiving a minor in aviation safety, Salam Gassim Abkar. Keith Wade Alder. Darren J. Andrews. Graduating magna cum laude, Gregory Keith Arnold. Dustin D. Asbury. Graduating summa cum laude, Second Lieutenant Richard Lee Barrett, Jr. Sherry Lynn Baker. Daniel J. Baker. Deborah Lynn Bergman. Howard Christian Borden. David Allen Brabham. Also receiving an associate degree in aviation business administration, Donald Eugene Britton. Also receiving a minor degree in aviation safety, Mark W. Bolano. Jesus Burgos. David Scott Campbell. Russell Owen Chapman. Stephen George Coletti, Jr. Graduating magna cum laude, Second Lieutenant Derek Colin Cooper.
Graduating magna cum laude, Brian Alexander Coote. David J. Craner. Richard Louis Pazant Custer, Jr. December 1990 graduate, Alan Palmer Cutter. Blaine Dapper. Keith Brian Dauber. Also receiving a minor in aviation safety, Kevin Lane Dellinger. Graduating cum laude, Jody June Doden. Adam Peter Domino. Also reading associate in aviation business administration, Larry Allen Dryman. William Thomas Duke. Graduating cum laude, second lieutenant, Mark William Easton. Travis Jerry Epperson. John Mark Verdon. Doyle W. Ferguson, Jr. Leland Frederick Fleming. Rebecca Suzanne Fleming. Daniel J. Flores. Stephen Arn Frazier. Amiel Robert Freed. William J. Galligan. Julia Eva Garabin. Second Lieutenant Paul Lewis Gilbride. Graduating cum laude, Arnie A. Gilgy. Michael Edward Gilroy. Anthony Richard Gonzalez. Sean Quigley Gordon. David Allen Governow. Michael James Green. Paul David Hammond. Thomas Edward Hatch. Alex Whedon Haynes. Graduating cum laude and receiving an associate degree in aviation business administration, Paul Garrett Hebert. Second Lieutenant John Wesley Hicks II. Paul William Hinchy. Also receiving a minor in safety, Richard Lewis Hummel. Joel Dirk Hoogerbeets. Timothy Lee House. Also receiving a minor in aviation safety, George L. Jacob III. Stephen Robert Johnson. David Allen Jones. Graduating cum laude, Edward David Corrales. Robert James Carey. James W. Kibbe. Nicole Lynn Kimball. Lane David Kranz. Boris Gerhard Kushner. Graduating cum laude, Jeffrey David Kuchka. Also receiving an associate degree in aviation business administration, Douglas Richard Lacey. Ronald C. Latour. Susan Lynn Latvala. William Bradford Lane. Seong Ho Lee. Carl Marcus Littlequist. Michael Allen Luttrell. John Henry Martinez. Jeffrey Mark Mason. Todd Anthony May. Lori Lynn McCarthy. Daniel Ray McCown. Michael Shannon McSheehy. Receiving an associate degree in aviation safety, Robert Brian Maneely. Kenneth Meyer II. Todd Anthony Milligan. Jerry Michael Monahan, Jr. Patrick Hiranabu Nakamichi. Scott Charles Nordbrock. Alan Scott O'Brien. Also receiving a degree in aviation safety, Richard Earl O'Donnell. Graduating magna cum laude, James Douglas Orcutt. Andreas Petridis. Ainsley Hope Platt. Also receiving a minor in aviation safety, Ronald Richard Plocky II. Stephen K. Post. Also receiving a minor in aviation safety, Wade Kaoehana Mo'ikea Raboy. Graduating cum laude, Mitchell Alex Raska. John George Reichel, Jr. Matthew Wolf Lakites Rogers. Michael Lee Robs. John Stewart Rosenberg. Richard Charles Ross, Jr. Aaron Kathleen Rudy. Maria Elena Ohiero Savage, 2nd Lieutenant. Herman Matthew Schnelker. John Eugene Swartz. David Paul Senko. Graduating magna cum laude, Anthony Joseph Severini. Mark Allen Sidlow. Martin Scott Skordal. Peter William Stropel, Jr. Po Hong Tan. Carl Evans Tenney. Graduating magna cum laude, Hugh Joseph Thomas. Jacques Van Seters. Torrance Justin Voorhees. Garrett J. Westera. Also receiving a minor in aviation safety, Linda S. Wheeler. Robert William Whitmer. Graduating magna cum laude, Stacy Stewart Wilcox. John Lane Williams. Julia Lynn Witherow. Wilburn Harley Wolf. Lena L. Wood. Larry Allen Worley. Also receiving a bachelor's degree in aeronautical studies, Derek T. F. Young. Thomas K. Zentz. Julie Elizabeth Zerschmied.
Will the candidates for Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Studies please come forward?
William Peter Bateshold. Glenn Stewart Baker. Blake Wayne Barton. Christopher Paul Betts. Graduating cum laude, Jorge Hilario Casado. Edward Paul Krabs. Joseph W. Dyke. Brian John Ferentz. Christy A. Fusner. Thea Lynn Fireeisen. Christopher Gregory Fitros. Michael Joseph Flynn. Andrew E. Goddard. Sean Gutowski. David Harsey. Second Lieutenant Andrew Jacob Hemmerline. Arthur Joseph Hilley. Tony Wayne Hof. Second Lieutenant Theodore Stephen Johnson. Patrick Arthur Jones. Graduating cum laude, Lawrence Scott Karp. Stephen Rudolph Koss. Graduating cum laude, Second Lieutenant David Randall Kroon. Andy F. Leach. Rebecca Lynn McCallum. Kevin Austin McCord. Michael Francis McDonnell. Philip W. Miller. Ben Trung Nguyen. Francisco G. Ochoa. Sam Pasternacki. Jonathan Brian Payne. Dawn Michelle Rosecrans. Thomas James Rowe II. Thomas Cruz San Nicolas. Lynette Segundo. Graduating cum laude, Sandra Miyoshi Shishido. Hoyt Slocum. Kenneth Albert Stouch. Curtis Lynn Still. Patrick J. Sullivan. Holly Ann Thomas. Stephen J. Viles. Second Lieutenant Scott Cooper Zipwald.
Will the candidates for Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering please come forward?
Boris Peter Anastov II. Douglas Craig Anderson. Second Lieutenant Michael Paul Arnold. Joseph Patrick Brannon. Second Lieutenant Joshua Andrew Day. David Bruce Ickstead. Warrant Officer Jeffrey Marshall Fanning. Micah Hugh Hamley. Arthur L. Cavan. Mary Dawn Casimira Long. Mark A. Muskoff, Second Lieutenant. Prinsley Nezadere. David Eugene Pert. Anthony E. Sheasley.
Will the candidates for Bachelor of Science degree in Aerospace Engineering please come forward?
Brian Craig Carson. Margaret Ann Kabinski. Graduating summa cum laude, Charles Edward Niederhaus. Graduating summa cum laude, Second Lieutenant Michael James Passafiumi. Christine Marie Souza. Second Lieutenant Ralph Michael Taylor.
Will the two candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Aviation Maintenance Management please come forward?
Jesse Grant Holloway. Charles Allen Smits, Jr.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Aviation Business Administration please come forward?
Holly Mae Allingham. Shantae Nicole Baker. Scott Arthur Bickford. Graduating cum laude and receiving a Bachelor of Science in Professional Aeronautics, Carol Langston Brown. Joaquin Gabriel Candelaria. Raymond Anthony Seo. Wynn Chester. Michelle Marlene Day. Michael Andrew Ferenchak. Brian Edward Florence. Tibor Stephen Foldomasi. Constance Marie Hyman. Henry Eric Hendricks. Burgundy Quincy Huntington. Graduating cum laude, Margot Kelly. Also receiving an associate in aeronautical science, Kimberly Annette Kays. Boon Seong Koo. Jan Robert Krug. Wesley Bart Lamata. Michael Sean Matthews. Odorili Harafi. Marcia Ann Parr. John Elliott Parker. James Daniel Petty. Virgil San Juan Romero. Graduating cum laude, Benjamin Peter Tibbetts. Scott Michael Trainer. Tony Villagrana. Don D. Wager. Jason Steele Ward. Jeffrey Walton Weinshank. Scott Richard Wilsey. Mike J. Zacharia.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with Aviation Application please come forward?
James Anderson Lancaster. Graduating cum laude, Madeline Mai Naparon. Susan Ann Parson. Sunny I. Patel. John Justin Penn. Michael J. Rano.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering please come forward?
Nadikam Protus Atang. George Allen Barkley. Also receiving a Bachelor in Computer Science with Aviation Application, Douglas A. Meller. Mary Lou Yesville.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Professional Aeronautics please come forward?
Gregory Thorsten Allen. John William Ash. Patrick Bradley Baldwin. Wayne Wilson Banker Jr. Michael Lawrence Borden. Graduating cum laude, Christopher Brockway. Michael Daniel Burdick. Fernando Galvin Chavez. Dale Ross D'Angelo. Benjamin Jose Durano. Timothy John Escobar. Walter Lance Fix. Jesse Richard Granda. John Noel Hickman. Harry Angelo Kenyon. Oliver Paul Lavin. Graduating magna cum laude, Nathan L. Leonard. Graduating magna cum laude, Scott Paul Leiker. Bobby Jean Martin. Graduating magna cum laude, Heath Mitchum McLaughlin. Graduating magna cum laude, James Lawrence Nolan. Graduating magna cum laude, Adam Christopher Parks. Tracy Lee Reasoner. Robert L. Reese. John Lewis Rattan. William John Salas. Graduating magna cum laude, Mark S. Santee. Mark Anthony Thompson. Joseph Stephen Widener. William David Whiteside. Stephen John Wine.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Aeronautical Science please come forward?
Bernard Edward Jones. Michael Bryant Kay. Mr. Kay is also receiving a Master's of Business Administration in Aviation. David Edward Myers. Bradley D. Warch.
Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Aeronautical Engineering please come forward?
Joseph Anthony Musco.
I haven't had so much fun since I was on the flight deck. If Senator McCain would come up near me and Dr. Satuda, I'd like to present another degree candidate. John McCain has dedicated his life of service to his country. Born in the Panama Canal Zone in 1936, he graduated from the United States Naval Academy in 1958 and went on to serve his country as a naval aviator, flying combat missions as a carrier pilot in Vietnam. During his 22-year distinguished military career, he received numerous awards, including the Silver Star, the Legion of Merit, the Purple Heart, and the Distinguished Flying Cross. His special service as a prisoner of war in Vietnam for 5.5 years is well known to us all. Following his retirement from the Navy, Captain McCain chose to continue serving his country as a member of the legislature. After serving 2 terms as a United States representative from Arizona, John was elected Arizona Senator in 1986. The committees he serves on tell you a lot about the man and his concerns. He serves on the Committee on Armed Services, where he's the ranking minority member on the Manpower and Personnel Subcommittee. He also serves as ranking minority member of the Aviation Subcommittee of the Committee of Commerce, Science, and Transportation. He is vice chairman of the Select Committee on Indian Affairs and is also a member of the Special Committee on Aging. John McCain is a fast-growing influence in the United States Senate. He is one of the 9 deputy whips assigned to assist the Republican leadership on legislative affairs. The Senate leadership appointed him co-chairman of the Central American Negotiations Observer Group, charged with monitoring the progress of diplomatic initiatives in the region. If you look behind me, you'll see the flying tribute. And they could upstage this tribute. Let me continue to point out that John also serves as Vice Chairman of the Energy and Environment Study Conference, and in 1988 was the National Chairman of the Veterans for Bush Committee for the presidential campaign. There is no doubt that John McCain serves his country and the people of Arizona well. Today, in recognition of this exemplary service, and particularly in recognition of his service to aviation, we add another award in honor of his illustrious career of national service. It is my pleasure, John, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and with the recommendation of the faculty, to award to you, the United States Senator John McCain, the degree Doctor of Aeronautical Science, honoris causa. Let me present Dr. McCain.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's a great honor and a great privilege for me to be the oldest and certainly not the smartest member of the class of 1991. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sigafus, upon the recommendation of the faculty of the university, it's my honor to present to you the candidates for graduation.
Thank you, Dr. Satuda. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, I hereby take pleasure in conferring upon you today the degrees, the associate's degree, the bachelor's degree, the master's degree, and the doctorate degree as appropriate, with all the rights and privileges thereby attending to. Congratulations, folks. You did it. It's over.
Just a few more details now, some presentation of special awards. The outstanding graduate in the various degree programs are chosen by the faculty. They were listed in your program, but I'd like to have them come forward now and receive their award. I have in Aerospace Engineering, Michael Passafiume. In Aeronautical Science, Richard Barrett, Jr. Aviation Business Administration, Carol Brown. And in computer science with aviation applications, James Lancaster. Then an award that has just been initiated for this graduation. It will be continuing annually, but Mr. Ed King, one of the trustees of the university, the founder of King Radio Corporation, has had an award presented and made on his behalf. It will go to the Embry-Riddle graduating senior who has made an outstanding contribution of time and talent to the local community and the university. And this year's award is presented to Carol Brown. Now this is a pretty good award because it includes not only this lovely plaque to commemorate it, but a check for $500, which is over here. And then the final award, and we'll get on with the rest of the program. This is the Chancellor's Award, presented each time that there's a qualifying student for the award. It's made based on the recommendation of the Provost and the Dean of Students. It's for outstanding academic achievement and dedicated campus involvement. And the award, Chancellor's Award, is presented to Michael J. Passafume, April 27, 1991. I just want to remind you all that when we finally finish the ceremony here in a few minutes, we will have a reception over in the small gymnasium just beyond the two white picket fences there. The graduates have asked me to make one more special announcement, and on their behalf I would like the faculty of the institution to stand up so that the student body can give them a special form of recognition. And now Gregory Arnold will lead us to the benediction.
Let us pray. Our Father, we humbly bow our heads at this time, the close of our formal education. We thank you so much for the blessings of health and integrity which were necessary to attain our graduation. We pray for guidance to meet the obstacles that will come before us. Father, let us work every day as if it were the first, yet tenderly treat the lives that we touch as if they will all end at midnight. We ask that we may know the meaning of peace as we journey quietly on our pathway to forever. Amen.